architectural group or so on, they should know that some of these things are probably needed for a pool.
Yeah, they should have not let us go in that direction. That's what I.
Well, yeah,
Come on.
so
No, it was.
I am gonna make a comment.
English muffins.
You know, I would think Shive had, or if they've worked with other projects, they should have known.
Okay.
Ready? Ready whenever you are.
Council, please come to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mandy, please call the roll.
Banstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Stryland,
Yes,
and Carlstone and DeWart are absent.
The City Council has adopted a code of civility. As elected officials, we pledge to promote civility through extending respect to others, listening to understand, disagreeing without disrespect, engaging collaboratively, and speaking up to address incivility. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted for Pella TV. Anyone who speaks to council must approach the podium before speaking, so those listening at home can hear your comments and see you on camera. Do I have a motion to approve the tentative agenda?
So moved.
support?
Branderhorst, Van Stryland. Discussion? All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Branderhorst,
Yes.
Van Stryland,
Yes,
Banstra,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. Public forum. Anyone wishing to address council regarding agenda items, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move along. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Banstra, Branderhorst. All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Banstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Stryland.
yes,
Motion passed. All right, next we'll have a public hearing on the matter of the adoption of plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the construction of the University Street and Baseline Drive extension. Mike, could you please explain?
Yes, council member, I'd be happy to. And for those in attendance and those watching at home on Pella Fiber, I'd like to direct your attention to the big board for a presentation on this item. Councilmember Hopkins stated tonight's public hearing is concerning the proposed University Street extension as well as the extension of Baseline Drive. And we do have some utility work involved with this project as well. Just to orientate everyone, we have a picture up here of the Pella Sports Park. University Street currently terminates at 240th Place, and what's being proposed with this project is extending the University Street from 240th Place all the way out to the County Line Road. And the new University Street will likely be the primary access for the proposed, or actually not proposed, but for the Pella Rec Center, which is currently being constructed and will be located right here. And in addition, we're also going to be extending with this project Baseline Drive to the north. So there'll be 2 access points to the Pella Sports Park as well as the Rec Center as well. So Heidi, let's go ahead, please. Now, as far as the bid letting is concerned, we did have some good news on the project. I'd like to point out the engineer's estimate was over $5.2 million. And thankfully, the engineer wasn't the low bidder on this project on it. So the bids came in roughly $1.1 million under the engineer's estimate, with the low bidder being TK Concrete, the amount of just under shy of $4,087,000. Now, Garden and Associates has reviewed the bids, and they are recommending awarding the contract this evening. The TK Concrete staff is also in agreement with that recommendation. Now, if council were to approve these 2 resolutions we have for the project, it is important to note the final completion on the project is scheduled for October 30th of this year. So first resolution that's going to be considered by council this evening is just a resolution 7024, which adopts the plan, specifications, form of contract, and also accepts the engineer's estimate cost. And resolution 7025 actually awards the contract to TK Concrete in the amount of $4,086,920. So with that, Councilmember Hopkins, that concludes the staff presentation. Be more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
Thanks, Mike. Mandy, any written comments?
No written comments.
Any comments from council? Any comments from the audience? All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Van Stryland? All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. All right, moving on to resolution number 7024 entitled Resolution Adopting Plans, Specifications, Form of Contract, and Estimate of Cost for the University Street and Baseline Drive Extension. Mike, anything to add?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion for approval?
Support.
Van Strylen, Branderhorst, discussion? All right, all in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Motion passed. Resolution number 7025. Resolution making award of construction contract for the University Street and Baseline Drive Extension. I assume nothing else to add,
You're
Mike?
correct.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Branderhorst, Van Stryland. All in favor say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. All right, indoor rec and aquatic center change order summary. Mike?
Yes, council member, I'd like to go ahead and turn the floor over to Mr. Bob Veenstra to walk council through this item.
Thank you. Just a little bit of where we are on the rec center, just for progress-wise, if you've observed it, the pool area on the west is pretty well framed out. They're actually digging, they've dug out the competition pool inside it, so if you could get in there, you can see that they're working in there. They won't let you in there, but very easily, but that's done. Most of the center core, the shallower, the less high center core between the pool and the gym is pretty well framed out. And the steel is up on the gym side, the precast panels will be, and the roof will be progressing. So about a month from now, all the structures will be pretty well enclosed in. So the work will then begin to be less visible on the outside and more visible on the inside. We anticipate that probably sometime later this spring, we'll start seeing more of the site work continue on. So they've made reasonably good progress the past month. They haven't really slipped behind schedule. We'll talk about one of the items here later on in the agenda that's somewhat affected the schedule. I think we can work around that. Where we are on the change orders this past month, the Project Management Committee approved change order 16 and change order 17. That encompassed 4 changes. So where we are right now is that overall, if you look at the changes that the committee has approved and the 3 changes that the council has approved and the one that's later on the agenda, change order 18, with that we'll be right at about $400,000 out of the $900,000 contingency. And then as I mentioned last time, we'll probably see a slowing of the changes and the change in the character. The potential for bigger changes is reduced as we get the structure built and we begin to move inside. What's likely to happen over the next several months is there'll be a lot of littler coordination issues. So for example, right now there are 6 or 7 little coordination issues out there. In aggregate, they probably are maybe $10,000. And we'll see that as we progress along through the project, and that'll continue on. The Project Management Committee approach has really helped to keep the project moving. The council originally authorized $20,000 for individual change orders, $100,000 in aggregate. Late last year, that was increased. The authority was increased to $200,000. Right now, the committee's approval is right around between $186,000 and $187,000. There'll be probably, again, in the next month, there'll likely be another change order. So the recommendation is, if the council is comfortable with the way that things are progressing, to add another $100,000 to the authorization, which would take it to $300,000. I think that will get us the ability, the committee, which is City Administrator Nardini, Councilmember Butler, and myself. We anticipate that will deal with a lot of the little changes that we'll see over the next several months. That would take the total authorization to 500,000, again, comfortably well under the 900,000. My guess is when all is said and done, we're probably going to end up somewhere in the 500 to 600 range, or about 2/3 or a little bit less of what the contingency is. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I think the request is if the council is so inclined to consider upping the authorization to keep the PMC process moving so we don't have to come back to the council every meeting with these little piddly change orders that are going to just inevitable as a part of this type of project where there's a lot of little coordination and change issues that go on, some of which you can't really foresee in advance. They're just like, okay, there's just too many moving parts for everything to be totally synchronized. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I don't think we have any. Thank you. We don't have anything that we need to do under that. Mike? Okay.
I guess as for seeking direction, I think this plan is working well, and I don't know why we wouldn't keep doing this at this level as we go forward. From my perspective, if John's okay, still being the council lead on it.
Yes, that's fine, that's fine.
Sounds good. All right, moving on to resolution number 7026, entitled Resolution Approving Planning and Zoning Agreement between Marion County and the City of Pella. Mike, please explain.
Yes, Councilmember, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Councilmember Hopkins stated, what this resolution would do is approve a 2080 agreement with Marion County, and this is for extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction for the City of Pella. And basically, under the terms of the agreement, is everything that you see in yellow is we do have zoning control currently with Marion County, and we have a current agreement with it. What this agreement would do is amend the current agreement, and we have the areas that would be amended up there. First of all, it's more of a definitional and probably just a logistical issue in working with Marion County. And what this amendment would do is clarify that parcels that are just located over 50% in one jurisdiction or another. So we're talking about the parcels that may straddle the line up here that you can see right here. If most of it is inside the City of Pella, then it'll be treated as entirely within the City of Pella and vice versa for Marion County as well. The county also asked for item number 2, which is for a minimum lot size of 3 acres for parcels that are zoned agriculture as well. And then we also have some updates to the commission membership that are intended to align with the state code as well. So with that, no other changes were made to the boundaries that are shown on the map, and staff is recommending approval of the agreement this evening.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Ben Stryland, Branderhorst. Discussion?
What are the updates to the commission membership provision?
Gerald, would you like to address that as far as the state code changes?
Yes, thank you, Mike. The state of Iowa changed codes requirements so that in the territorial or the extraterritorial area, we have to have a member of the public and one member of the farm. It has to be an actual farming member that was required to be in that jurisdiction. Our previous agreement did not state that, so this is just modified to state that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All in favor? Yes. Opposed? No. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Banstrad.
Yes.
Motion passed. All right, resolution number 7027, entitled Resolution Approving Engagement Agreement with Allers and Cooney PC to act as bond counsel and disclosure counsel for the City of Pella in connection with general obligation capital notes. Mike, please explain.
Yes, Councilmember. Once again, I'd like to direct everyone's attention to the big board for a presentation on this item. Actually, this item is a presentation on the next 3 resolutions on tonight's agenda. The first resolution that we have is the proposed agreement with the Allers and Cooney, and that's for the Allers and Cooney law firm to serve as our bond counsel. Their proposed fees are just shy of $40,000, and consider the complexity of the proposed bond issue, we think they're in line with the scope of work. The other 2 resolutions simply set April 7th as a public hearing date for proposed bond issues, and these bond issues are intended to fund the University Street project that we just got done improving this evening, or awarding the contract to, as well as sanitary sewer work that's associated with the rec center as well. So when we look at these two items, they're both very similar. What they really do is set April 7th as the public hearing date for both the proposed bond issues. I would like to state these bond issues are maximum not to exceeds. The total amount for the bond issues that we'll be considering on April 7th will be closer to $5.5 million in total for the complete project. So again, these are just maximum not to exceed amounts that we have. But the key takeaway is they just simply set April 7th as the public hearing date for the proposed bond issues. So with that, we are recommending approval of all three resolutions this evening. Be more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on these items.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Do I have a motion for approval? Vanstra, Branderhorst, discussion?
Mike, have you been hearing any coupon rates? I know that can change between now and then, what Mike probably has been giving us.
Yeah, I think with this, and this is let's just say 3 weeks ago, the rates were about 3.75, and it's my understanding they've crept up to about 4% right now, so.
And we're doing it in two bonds because,
The first one that we have up here is the unit, this would be Resolution 7028. That is an urban renewal bond, which means it's eligible for TIF financing on as well. And so that would be the University Street extension as well as the Baseline Drive extension. The sanitary sewer project, which is proposed to be a essential corporate purpose bond issue in the amount of $1.2 million, is not urban renewal because we've awarded the contract prior to the urban renewal district being formed. So that's the reason for the two bond issues.
all right, thank you.
Okay. All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, resolution number 7028, entitled Resolution Fixing Date for a Meeting on the Authorization of a Loan Agreement and the Issuance of Not to Exceed $6,550,000 General Obligation Capital Loan Notes on the City of Pella, State of Iowa, for essential corporate urban renewal purposes, and providing for publication of notice thereof. Anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Banster Van Stryland, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say yes, opposed no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Branderhorst,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. Resolution number 7029, entitled Resolution Fixing Date for a Meeting on the Authorization of Loan Agreement and the Issuance of Not to Exceed $1,250,000 General Obligation Capital Loan Notes of the City of Pella, State of Iowa, for essential corporate purposes and providing for publication of notice thereof. I assume nothing to add, Mike.
You are correct.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support?
Branderhorst, Banstra, discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Branderhorst,
Yes.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Resolution number 7030, entitled Resolution Approving Bidding Procedures for New Farm Lease Adjacent to the Pella Municipal Airport. Mike, can you please explain?
Yes, be happy to. And what this is, Councilmember Hopkins, today, what we're proposing to council, requesting permission from council is to seek bids on the city's airport property that we own, the property that surrounds the Pella Municipal Airport. It's approximately 98 acres. We're looking for bids for a 3-year contract on the ground. We do have listed out what we believe the tillable portion of the property is versus the oak crops as well for a total of 98 acres. Council were to approve this resolution, we'd receive sealed bids on the farm ground on March 27th, and hopefully we have a contract for your consideration on April 7th. So once again, all we're requesting to do is seek bids for the city's property that abuts the Pella Municipal Airport. Heidi, I believe we have a map on the next page as well, which shows the city's property that we own that we're proposing to rent out.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Branderhorst, Van Stryland, any discussion?
A couple questions. Are we seeking a new operator or a new farmer?
as far as the farm tenant.
Yeah,
What we'll have here is, it'll be a competitive bid on it. We've had a good success for current tenant, but again, I believe the contract's been extended a few times, and so now, as far as, generally, we like to bid out city projects on it as well, so that's what's being proposed, but there hasn't been any disagreements with the current tenant. It's just, we assume that they intend to bid the project as well, Will?
Yes, as far as we know. They do, yes.
do you know what they've been paying?
Excuse me?
Do you know what the bid, what have they been, what's the rent?
I don't have that number on me, I'm afraid,
Okay,
but.
okay. All right.
Anything else? All right, all in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes, motion passed. Moving on to resolution number 7031, entitled Resolution Ordering Construction of the Pella Community Center Renovation Project and Fixing a Date for Hearing Thereon and Taking Bids Therefore. Mike, you please explain.
Yes, council member, and once again, I'd like to direct everyone's attention to the big board for a presentation on this item. And as council member Hopkins simply is stated, what we're requesting this evening is to establish May 5th as the public hearing date for the proposed community center renovation project that we have, as well as the stairwell addition component of the project as well. We do have the proposed, or not proposed, but this is the latest color elevation of the city's community center, what it would look like if council proceeds with construction contract for the whole project. Let's go ahead, please, Heidi. A little bit of a project overview. Basically, when we look at this project, we believe in total, when you count in engineering fees on the project, we're just over $9 million for total project cost. The base project, as far as the construction component, is just over $7,065,000. The alternate, which would be the stairwell addition, is just shy of $590,000. And once again, we do have a contingency amount of just shy of $683,000 for the project as well. Overall, when we look at the funding sources for the project, as council is aware, we've committed $5.5 million of cash reserves for this project. The Friends of the Community Center have also pledged roughly $2.5 million for this project. The state of Iowa has awarded a CAT grant for this project to the amount of $500,000. And Marion County has also contributed $25,000 for this project. So when we look at the project, I'm going to preface this comment as technically we have a deficit that's for the full amount, but we do believe we have enough funding secured for the base project, which is basically renovating the community center and adding the elevator addition or expanding the current elevator on it. We do not currently have enough based off the cost estimates to construct the stairwell addition. But I'm going to preface this. We've been on a heck of a winning streak with the bid results, including this evening with the University Street project as well. It's been a very competitive bidding environment out there, and hopefully we'll have continued luck on these projects as well. So what we're requesting is to go out and seek bids for the project. If council were to approve this resolution, we'd have a bid letting on this project on April 17th. May 5th would be the public hearing date on the project as well, and hopefully we'll have a proposed construction contract on that night as well. A little bit of additional details on May 5th, what we anticipate on that evening. That process would be conducted very similar to the Pella Indoor Recreation Center. If you recall with that project, because we were relying on donations to build that project, we also had a proposed contract with Pella Rec as well, along with the financial analysis of the pledges for the project. We intend to do the same thing with the Friends of the Community Center, and so that will be a component on it. And then there was also a big discussion as far as the operating subsidy for the rec center. We intend to follow the same procedures for the community center and talk about operations as well on May 5th. But to start with the project, the first step in this as far as getting bids is to approve this resolution tonight. So once again, with it, we are recommending approval and seeking bids for this project. I'm more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on it.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Do I have a motion for approval? Branderhorst, Van Stryland, any discussion? See none, all in favor say yes, opposed no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes, motion passed. Resolution number 7032, entitled Resolution approving change order number 18 with stall construction for the Pella Indoor Recreation and Aquatic Center projects. Mike?
Yes, Councilmember Hopkins, I'm actually going to turn this item over to Mr. Bob Veenstra as well. So Bob, if you could please walk council through this.
As I mentioned earlier, there's a change order to consider tonight, change order 18. This relates to the roof on the pool portion of the community center. The roof that was specified, there's two different kind of roofing systems that could have been used. One is called mechanically fastened, where the roof basically, they're on top of the metal pan deck of the roof, there's a vapor barrier, and that's to keep the moisture and humidity from inside the pool area getting up into the roof area. There's two different ways that they could have specified the roof. One is what's called mechanically fastened, and that actually punctures through this vapor membrane, and the other is a self-adhered, which is all basically stuck to the top of the pan deck. Under the contract, there's what's called a commissioning agent, which is a third party that comes in and inspects, makes sure everything is built according to plan. So when the commissioning agent came in and looked at the roof in February, it was built according to what was specified. But the concern was raised that with the system, the less costly mechanically fastened system, with the holes through the vapor barrier, that there was a very high potential that the high humidity from the pool area could get up into the roof material between the roof deck and the membrane and result in a failure in not immediately, but some number of years down the road, less than what you would normally expect. So they raised that question with the architect for the project, Shive Hattery. They went back and looked at it and said, we probably should have specified the self-adhered roof, which basically keeps the moisture inside the pool area. So what this change order does is it actually is two parts. The first is it changes the roofing system on the pool area to the self-adhered system. Now, it doesn't affect the rest of the center because we don't have, the humidity problems aren't really a real issue in the core area or in the gym area. This is really related to the high humidity that occurs in a pool area. So this part of the change order actually increases the cost by $82,000, if I can read my notes, 82, yeah, can't get them up here where I can see them, $82,876.50. Now, had they specified this system at the beginning, then this would have been a cost that the city would have incurred. So the way we looked at it is that this really results in the city incurring the cost that they would have had the right system been specified. The other part of it is that there was about half the roof on the pool that was already installed before they found the problem. So that roof has to come off, and that cost for that is $75,489.75. And Shive Hattery has agreed that they should have specified the self-adhered system. So they have agreed to pay the cost for taking the roof off. So, and they did so reasonably quickly. I mean, it took a little cajoling, but they understood fairly quickly that this was something that they should have specified the other roof system. So the change order logistically tonight is you have the change order for the total amount of $158,366.25. That's what will get paid to stall construction. Shive Hattery will write the city a check for $75,489.75, resulting in the net cost to the city of $82,876.50. And when I mentioned earlier that we were approaching about $400,000 in contingency use, that includes the $82,000. So we're just a little bit over $300,000 right now. So we would recommend it. This is the better roofing system. It's unfortunate it occurred, but I think we caught it before the whole roof got on. And so that's the proposed change, is that what we're trying to do is to say, put the city in the position where they would have been had the right roofing system been specified, and then Shive Hattery would be responsible for the additional costs because part of the roof, the incorrectly specified roof got put on. I would note that stall construction did exactly what they were supposed to do. So this is not an issue of or the contractor has any responsibility because they, you know, Shive Hattery, the commissioning agent, all agree that that Stahl Construction followed the specifications. This is not something where they didn't do it correctly. This is something where an alternate roof system probably should have been specified. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
How many square feet is that?
But
How many square feet does this affect?
I don't have, Councilman Hopkins, I don't have that exact number. I can get that for you. It's right around half of the pool
Okay.
area.
This is, it seems like if Shive is already admitting that they should have spec'd it this way, which they should have, that I understand where you're coming from as far as that we would have spent this anyways if it was spec'd this way. But I have a hunch that we would have ended up with a lower dollar amount, just it being in a public bid setting as opposed to in a change order setting. I'm sure you know
Yes, and
how it usually
when,
goes.
when we were working with Stahl Construction, we did the best, we pointed that out to them, that, you know, look, this is something where, you know, we're very concerned about the fact that, you know, change orders can be viewed as a windfall to the contractor. So we worked with them to try, this is not their first number. So we tried to be very conscious to get that as close as we could, and rather than taking their first number. So I can't guarantee what it was, but we raised that issue from the very beginning that they needed, you know, we were aware of this, we were going to be very conscious of this, and we wanted to get it down to, you know, as close as I could get them to where they would have viewed it in a public bidding setting. And they were very transparent about the costs of the materials. And the vast majority of this is in cost and not installation. And typically where you get into this difference between what occurs in a change order versus what it is in the public bidding isn't so much the materials cost, because the supplier just, you know, they don't know that. It's really in the installation. And so it's to the point where the installation component of that, it really isn't there. We made that all disappear. So this is really just the material difference. It's more costly material. To put it on is just about the same amount of labor. So I think we've done as best we can to try to recognize that concern, because, you know, trying to make sure that neither side gets a windfall.
Sure.
Does that help the best
Yeah.
I can? I
Yeah.
can't make the issue go away, but I can work the best I can
Yep.
to try to minimize it.
That makes me a little less unhappy. When I first saw this, I was very unhappy that, you know, Shive basically, I guess, picked the wrong type of roof. Makes it a little more palatable. But I think if Shive works with this all the time, they should have picked the right roof.
Yeah, I do commercial roofing.
Yeah.
I would say, I can't believe that they have mechanically fastened. I'm shocked, actually, that it's not fully adhered or ballasted. Did they look at ballasted?
That one, I believe they did, and they opted for, and I wasn't involved in the project back then, but they did show me some information where they looked at it, and everybody, I don't remember, it was looked at and decided that that was not the way to go.
Okay.
Just to comment on it, doing indoor swimming pools, I mean, Shive Hattery does a lot of building enclosures. Doing indoor swimming pools is probably something that, you know, this is probably something where the pool sub and the architect probably didn't get themselves completely synchronized.
They knew. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
So I've done a handful of pool roofs, and I know that if you don't have to, you don't screw them down. So they knew. So I'm pretty frustrated about that, but it's the way it is.
Well, the only good news is we caught it before they got all buried and knowing
Right, yeah.
we had to deal with it 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I'm a lot like Dave and Harold. I looked at this and my reaction was just like Dave's, oh, come on. And I don't do roofs, but they do. And I will just put it out there that it's gonna make me look at things with a little more suspect than I did before. We have to do this, but I think that we all have, as a council, have to look at this, and if there are continued mistakes like this, have a very high level of suspicion.
Understood, yeah, I think that there are, there are always coordination project, not everything fits together when you, a project like this, but I do think that, yeah, we have to be cognizant of that, and there have been some other things that have come up that haven't had to come back to the city where we've had to deal with, it's like getting all this stuff synchronized, so we try to keep as much of that in check as we can, so it doesn't end up with a cost increase. This is one that it's of a magnitude, there's really no way to get that to completely disappear.
This is probably of importance with timing as far as if they're currently roofing right now,
Yeah,
to get the building enclosed.
yeah, what happened is that they were working on the roof, they had to stop, the contractor pulled off, there was about 2 weeks in there where they couldn't work. Then they're gonna come back and there's other places to work, but they lost a good couple of weeks on this, so it'd been ideal if we could have resolved it and kept them going, but given the magnitude of it, that wasn't practical, it had to come back to the council, so there was really no way to avoid that 2 weeks. Now, whether that 2 weeks is gonna affect the overall completion date, it's too early to tell.
Sure.
But we try to get it so that we could get them working and as quickly as we can and minimize the impact on schedule.
Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Butler, Vanstra. Any more discussion? All right, thanks, Bob. Okay, all in favor say yes, opposed no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Butler,
Yes.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Vanderhorst,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes,
Van Strylen.
Yes.
motion passed. Thanks, Bob.
I didn't go away because I'm up for the next item.
I'll read it and then we'll talk. Resolution number 7033 entitled Resolution Approving Change Order Number 2 to the Professional Services Agreement. I'm seeing a trend here, I don't like it. Change order number 2 to the Professional Services Agreement with the Terracon Consultants for materials testing and special inspection services for the Indoor Recreation Center. Mike or Bob?
I feel like I have the night off tonight.
Yeah.
I'm lucky Bob's here, and I was gonna ask Bob if he'd mind sticking around for a budget work session.
Yeah, there we go.
Too, so
Yeah.
you hand off those presentations as well. No, on this, I'd like to go ahead and turn the floor over to Bob again to explain this item.
Under the contract structure that Shive Hattery put together, there's a third-party testing service, which has to do like concrete inspection, welding inspection, all kinds of inspections. And those are spelled out in the contract documents that Winstall needs these inspections. And the way that it was structured is that rather than the third-party testing service working for the contractor or the architect, it was structured to work for the city. But there was no scope provided. And so the prices were submitted to the city. They were obtained back in March of 2025 before the project was bid. And there was really you could read through the spec and say, okay, these are the kind of tests that are needed. And so the city received 2 proposals, one from Terracon and one from Allender Butsky. And what it was that because there was no guidance, both Terracon and Allender Butsky sort of had to look at the project and make a guess about, okay, I'm gonna need this many of this concrete inspections and this many welding inspections and this many of this inspection. And if you go back and look at the original proposals, Allender Butsky assumed more than what Terracon did, but if you compare the rates, like what does a concrete test cost, or what is a weld inspection, or what is an hourly rate, they were nearly identical. And so what's happened is that because there was no guidance given, and no input from Stahl Construction, because they weren't even selected yet. The contractors had to make some assumptions. And it's turned out that Terracon and if you'd awarded it to Alan Derbutsky, you would have been in the same boat, where the number of tests are greater just by the way that Stahl Construction is doing the project. And there's nothing in the contract that tells Stahl that they can't skip inspections. And so whenever they have a piece of work ready, they've got to get it inspected so they can move on. And so there's really this structure, there's really no effective party to manage, let's say, okay, let's consolidate, let's keep it down. And so Terracon, in a way, is sort of the innocent party in this thing, because whenever Stahl needs a test by the spec, they have to call Terracon, and Terracon has to come. And so there's really no control over it, and there's really, at this point, nothing you can do about that. Now, there's other ways it could have been done. You know, if it was my choice, I always put the monkey on the contractor's back to manage it, because that way they're dealing internally and they manage their own cost risk. But in this way, the way they structured it, there's no party, not the city, not Terracon, not Shive Hattery, not Stahl, that really manages how that occurs. And because there was no guidance, there was no parameters given to Terracon to say, okay, we think we're going to need X tests or Y tests. Now, what's happened subsequently is that, for example, on these amendments, particularly this one, I sent Terracon back to meet with Stahl Construction to get the best estimate we could looking forward of how many tests we're going to get. Now, I can't guarantee that we won't have something won't change, but this is the first time, and that's why it's an odd number, is that I said, okay, we've got to get a better parameter than just guessing. So Terracon, the reason it's taken a little while is that Terracon's had to get with Stahl to figure out what's going on. Stahl still doesn't have any responsibility to say we're going to hold it to this number of tests, because they're required under the contract to call. But this is one of those, it's sort of there's no parameters around it, and I don't know how to do anything else, because it's really, there's no party that's really can manage this thing. So I just sort of kind of do the best I can to kind of keep it in check. Try to encourage, Stahl to not call any more than frequently than have to, but Stahl's sitting there saying, okay, I lost time last summer for a variety of reasons. I lost a couple of weeks, on the roofing issue. So I want to get done. I want to keep the project moving, because, sitting there and waiting and putting a bunch of stuff together, waiting for a week to get an inspection, so I have one instead of two, has schedule impacts. So I wanted to be cognizant that we don't delay the project by saying, okay, Stahl, group a bunch of work together before you call Terracon, because in the grand scheme of things, it appeared that the testing was a minor part of the impact of delay. Does that make sense? So trying to do the best we can to sort of keep it in check, not delay the project by putting some parameters that would delay the project. So this is where we are. Again, it's a creature of how the contract was structured. We just don't have there's just not a mechanism at this point to really control it. So I'm trying the best I can to manage it without nobody gave me any hammer to hit them up the side of the head with. So,
Yeah, but this is essentially, in this, it'd be great to have a fixed cost, but at any rate, they're working for the city because they're making sure things are done right. That's what they're here for, is that the concrete has the right slump and the welds are right and the structure is good. So they're working for us, and this is work that we want them to do, so that we have a building that's going to last as long as it should. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
now I'm done for a while.
All right.
For a while.
Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. Branderhorst, Van Stryland. Any discussion?
I don't think we have any option.
Nope.
Yep. Okay, all in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. Moving on to ordinance number 1084, entitled an ordinance amending ordinance number 984, providing that general property taxes levied and collected each year on certain property located within the amended Lely urban renewal area in the city of Pella, county of Marion, state of Iowa, by and for the benefit of the state of Iowa, city of Pella, county of Marion, Pella Community School District, and other taxing districts be paid to a special fund for payment of principal and interest on loans, monies advanced to and indebtedness, including bonds issued or to be issued, incurred by the city in connection with the amended Lely Urban Renewal Area, Amendment Number 2 to the Lely Urban Renewal Plan. This is the second reading. Mike, could you please explain this really long request?
We'll try to simplify it this evening. Basically, what we're doing with this ordinance is we're amending the current Lely TIF ordinance that we have. Now, the original Lely TIF ordinance was established in 2019. It was the red area that we have located right here. So this amendment has two components. One of them is we're expanding the geographical area of the ordinance. So we're adding everything in green to the current Lely TIF ordinance. So the way TIF works is with this ordinance is any taxable buildings that are built on the property, it allows us to capture the incremental valuation on it. So what that means is for new buildings that are built on these properties that are taxable, we'll capture about 75% of the property tax revenues, and we'll use those property tax revenues to help finance public improvement projects for the plan. So basically, the area that we've added in green would be this industrial park, this future building on there as well, and those would be new buildings, we'd be eligible to capture the valuations of the new buildings. It is important to note for the existing taxing entities, they would still get the same amount of property taxes that they're currently receiving for the ag ground here, but if anything new gets built on it, we will be able to capture those valuations to help support public improvements in the area. And speaking of public improvements, we have two projects. One of them is the University Street Extension Project that we just awarded the contract for this evening, along with the Baseline Drive Extension Project. The second one is that we're planning on renovating Oskaloosa Street, East Oskaloosa Street, so this would be east of East 16th Street, all the way out to just east of the Pella Christian entrance on the old Highway 163. That's roughly about a $2.5 million project, and those are to be the two projects that we are also adding that would be eligible for TIF financing as well. So once again, what we're simply doing is we're adding everything in green. This allows us to capture new valuations that may be built on the new industrial park right here as well to support public improvement projects, which is the University Street Extension, as well as the East Oskaloosa Street Improvement Project as well. So with that, Councilmember Hopkins, that concludes our presentation this evening.
All right, thanks, Mike. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Vanstra Van Stryland. Any discussion?
I have a question about the TIF arrangement here. This, when I hit the item on the agenda, it takes me right to the tax increment financing district ordinance for amendment number 2.
Mhm.
And it says this ordinance amends the previously approved TIF ordinance to include the additional projects and territory outlined above. Will we be able to approve those projects as they go into gear or as they start, or are they automatically in a TIF?
No, well, they're eligible for TIF financing if council
Okay.
approves them. But it's everything's subject to if council approves those projects.
Okay.
There'll be individual votes on these projects as
Okay.
well, so.
That was my question.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, all in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed.
And I'll make a motion to suspend the rules and waive the third reading, since we've not had any opposition at all to this.
Support.
Okay, motion and second received. Vanstra Van Stryland. Discussion? Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Yes. Opposed? No. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Okay, we have a move to adopt by Van Stryland, Van Branderhorst. All in favor or discussion? Okay. All in favor, yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Motion passed. Ordinance number 1086, entitled an ordinance amending chapter 122 of the city code of the city of Pella, Iowa for the purpose of allowing mobile food units on designated city-owned property. This is the first reading. Mike, could you please explain?
Yes, Councilmember Hopkins, I'd be pleased to, happy to do so. And once again, I'd like to direct everyone's attention for a very brief presentation to the big board. As Councilmember Hopkins stated, we're considering two ordinances this evening, ordinance 10086 and 10087. They're both related to each other. They both allow mobile food units on city property. And a little bit of background on this, what we've been talking to council about is currently city staff provides concessions for events that occur at our athletic facilities. What we've discussed internally and proposing internally is that we're getting out of the concession business. And for those entities that utilize the sports park as well as the soccer complex, as well as the pool out there, for entities that maybe rent or probably more in line with the soccer complex and the sports park, for like Little League, the soccer clubs, if they'd like to provide concessions, they're more than welcome to. But in the event they choose not to, we'd like to allow mobile food units at the event so that the patrons to the sports complex and the soccer complex have food options as well. And that's what these ordinances would allow on this. And so we have a little bit of background on both of these ordinances, but 1086 allows mobile food units to actually occupy city property subject to obtaining a permit. And ordinance number 1087 approves the ability to permit fees by approving a resolution. And we'll be presenting the resolution once the ordinance is approved, if it is approved by council, rather on that. And similar to the fees that will be proposed for the mobile food units on city property will be 10% of the amount taken in by the vendor as well. So with that, that concludes the presentation for both ordinance 1086 and 1087.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Banstra, Branderhorst, discussion? Okay, all in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
I just think this makes a lot of sense, and since I like to eat, I'm going to motion to suspend the second and third reading of this. Waive the rules.
Second?
Support.
All right, so we have a motion to suspend, waive the second and third reading. All in favor, say yes. Do I need to say Banstra and Branderhorst?
No, we're good.
All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to adopt.
Support.
Banstra, Branderhorst, move to adopt. Discussion. All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. All right, moving on to ordinance number 1087, entitled an ordinance amending section 171-0114 of the city code of the city of Pella, Iowa, for the purpose of adding fees for mobile food units to operate on designated city-owned properties. This is the first reading. Nothing to add, I assume?
That is correct.
All right, do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Banstra, Branderhorst, discussion? All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed.
And I'll go the same way on this one, so we can have the fees attached to it to waive the second and third readings and suspend the rules.
Support.
All right. Got a motion to suspend second and third. Banstra, Branderhorst. All in favor, yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanstra,
Yes.
Branderhorst.
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to adopt.
Support. Branderhorst, Van Strylen, move to adopt. Discussion. All in favor say yes, opposed no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes, motion passed. Okay, do I have a motion to approve abstract bills number 2195?
Move to approve and issue warrants.
Support?
Branderhorst, Van Strylen, discussion? All in favor say yes, opposed no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanstra.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. Okay, do any council members have any other business that needs to be addressed?
I do.
John?
I have a couple comments here on, about the Kiwanis tennis pickleball courts on Orchard. Recently, Bob Zilstra pointed out to me that the cost per square foot of poured concrete at the Pella Airport was $7.29 a square foot. To do the tennis courts, 24,000 square feet would cost about $175,000. The cost to remove the existing courts has been in the budget, I think, at about $25,000. I suggest that the old courts be removed as soon as the weather permits, and then the existing base can be evaluated as to what needs to be done, which I think has been the holdup on, I've gotten a bid to do it, but they're concerned about what's underneath the existing court. Until we see it, I don't want to sign a contract for it. So once we get that off and we can figure out whether we're going to go ahead or do something different with it, where's the money going to come from? Well, I'll tell you, our recent experience with project bids would seem to be part of the answer. And I have a spreadsheet here I'll send to you. Over the last year or so, our bids have come in like $8 million below engineer's estimate. I think we can build a tennis court. I think we can figure this out. We would have spent the money if they would have been bid up to the engineer. You don't have to spend the money. I know it's saved money, so it's kind of ephemeral, if you will. Save money is not in your pocket necessarily, but we're not spending it somewhere else where we were kind of committed to spend it. So some of that money could be spent to fix this area up.
At the minimum to
Yeah, at the minimum.
take it out?
Take it out, see what's there, get an analysis on how much work needs to be done to the base. It's been under concrete for what, 50 years or something? It can't be, it's got to be pretty well settled.
Right.
So anyway, that's my suggestion. I'd appreciate moving on it because I get calls on it every once in a while from people in the neighborhood.
Sure.
There's a valuable resource there, and it's just another one of those city parks that a lot of people, it's nice to have them scattered around.
I don't disagree, John, and I appreciate you doing this. This is a great visual, and it's really good information for us to know, and I do agree with you. I think that neighborhood parks in our community are very important, and I think that this suggestion has a lot of merit to it.
Thank you. I will say that some of the contract numbers have changed, like the rec center's gone up a couple $100,000. So these are from the beginning.
Interesting. I got an email just last week, what are we going to do with the courts
Yeah.
on Orchard Street? A person said, do something with it. I'm tired of looking at the padlock, on the Kiwanis courts.
I do think it's important too for us to consider the fact that we need to invest in recreation that's free to everyone and accessible to everyone, because not everything that we're involved with right now is going to be accessible to everyone based on financial limitations. So
Right.
again, I applaud this.
Okay, Mike, you know what to do from there?
We'll be talking about the project, Councilmember Butler. Thank you for the
Okay.
summary as well, but we'll be talking about the Kiwanis Tennis Court projects during the budget hearings,
All right.
meetings on the
I knew that
30th
was
and
coming.
31st.
We'll be ready.
Okay. Any members of the public have any other business that needs to be addressed? If so, step forward to the microphone, State your name and address, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, we'll now adjourn to the policy and planning meeting.
Okay. The first item that we have up is just a brief update on the airport water main project, and I'm going to be calling on our engineer on the project, which is Brad Udemark, as well, to provide a little bit of background on this project. But we wanted to update council on the proposed water main project that we talked about earlier this year. As you recall, water main, what we're proposing to do is extend an 8-inch water main to help support airport development, including the new Pella Corporation hangar, which is going to be built right down here as well. And through our development agreement with Pella Corporation, this was one of the projects that we stated that we would have constructed by September 1st of this year. Well, we're looking at the project originally. When we estimated the project, we thought the project was right around $400,000, and we thought we'd be starting right up here where our current 16-inch water main is located right here, and extending the 8-inch water main down here to the new Pella Corporation hangar and basically dead-ending it. Upon further investigation on the matter, Brad can share some details on it, but the recommendation to us is it's never a good idea to dead-end the water main. If possible, there's strong preferences to loop the water main. That helps avoid stale water in the system as well. And so what's being proposed with the project is to continue this project that was supposed to stop here on down to link into Idaho Drive. I don't have the exact route on here. Just look at the distance. We proposed to stop here originally. Now we're proposing to go all the way down to Idaho Drive. It almost doubled the length of the project. And that's correlated in the estimated cost of the project as well. So now we're looking at a project that's probably closer to about $900,000 in total, as opposed to our $400,000 previous. And with that, I'd like to call on two individuals to share additional background information on this and why it's important to have a loop system. Brad, if you don't mind addressing this, and Will, please feel free to chime in on anything you feel necessary as well.
Thank you. I'm not exactly sure of the origin of the dead-end main that was originally proposed, but it was a 2,600-foot main from Fifield Road to the new Pella Corp hangar. And I should back up. Right now, the terminal, everything at the airport is served by a 2-inch line that runs from Fifield down there. So there's no fire protection at all on the airport currently. So you have about the same length, 2,600 feet of 2-inch water line, I would call it, that serve those, the terminal and the hangars. When we got to looking at what had been proposed at some point of extending a dead-end line to serve fire protection to the Pella Corp hangar, with the fire flows they were requiring, it would have been a 12-inch main, 2,600 feet long. So in a 2,600-foot long 12-inch main, you have about 15,000 gallons of water. And the entire airport campus uses about 5,000 gallons of water domestically a month. And so you have a bad situation where you have a lot of water setting in a main for a long time. To a greater extent, probably, I don't know if you know, at Lely, they have kind of the same thing out there because they have a long, long dead-end main. And I think they flush a lot of water out of the end of that main just to keep the water potable for Lely out there. So we didn't want to get into that situation. It was kind of agreed on by all that a looped system was more desirable. And so what our directive then at that point was to provide a loop system from Fifield Road down to Idaho Drive, near Neal Drive would be the connection, about 6,000 feet. And with the loop system, that allowed you to go to an 8-inch because you're drawing from both ends, of course, to the center. And so we showed an 8-inch main, then with and the most logical corridor was to parallel what will be a parallel taxiway to the east of the current runway, and just to the east of that, between that and the apron. And so we took it down that corridor with a lead to a hydrant off the southeast corner of the new Pella Corporation hangar that would serve their fire protection needs. And then continue on down and looping back into Idaho Drive. And since we were coming right along there anyway, we proposed to drop a hydrant in off the west end of the parking lot to protect the terminal and the fueling area up there on the apron. That also allowed us to, just to the south of the T hangars, intercept that 2-inch line and cut about 1,400 feet off of that. And so that 2-inch line would still serve the terminal, the existing hangars. The new line would serve the fire hydrants, the 2 fire hydrants in Pella Corporation. When we went into check plans with the city and with Classic Aviation, they said, yeah, we'd really like to have another hydrant between, I'm going to use the old ones, they've changed recently, but between the Vermeer and Weiler, the large hangars, right? Be these two right here. So we said, yeah, we can. So the original estimate before that was about $850,000. We said, yeah, we can run another lead across and add a hydrant on the east side of those 2 hangars. And I think we had an estimate on that of about just shy of 900,000. But if we do that, then you've got another lead there that is not getting use off it. So we probably want to hook in the domestic for Vermeer and for Weiler. And at that point, then you leave the 2-inch line to serve the 2 smaller hangars on the south end, with no really plan to serve them in the future. So with that all in mind, then it becomes more logical to add a loop around the east side of the hangars. What we run into there is we've got about a 25-foot wide nest of utilities on the west side of the access road right now, including the gas main, the electric service by Pella Cooperative Electric, and several communication lines. So we try to snake in between all of those utilities in the front of the hangars. So it's certainly possible. It's a tougher construct than the other, and a little bit more distance. It would intercept all of the current water services then. So the terminal, all the hangars that are currently served, as well as Pella Corp, would be served off of that new loop that goes around the east side of the hangars. So it's kind of a good, better, best, I guess, and I think the 2 they have in front of you tonight are the better and the best. I would say that ultimately going around the east side is the way to go, but I just want to caution that it's a more complicated build, probably more susceptible to some things that we might not know about as we go through that corridor. And I think we had a date on there of September 4th. That was on the original. We're probably going to bump that out by 2 or 3 weeks just because of the additional complication of going through that area. And I think that ultimate cost estimate then came to just under 940.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
And I will also caution that, while we certainly hope that we'd have a bid below that, we haven't seen the softening in that underground utility market that we have in the paving projects. So can't guarantee you that 20% reduction in the engineer's estimate there. So anyway, that's what I have on that. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Brad, did you look at going in front, pulling concrete out and going in front? Is it cleaner? Is that a possibility?
Through the apron itself?
Yeah.
We talked about that. I mean, you could even bore it underneath there, but I don't think long term, I don't think the airport really wants that main underneath their apron and right in front of the hangars.
Easement, yeah.
Yeah.
How big is the problem? It says here that the east side has more bends in it.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's up there. It was in the packet, I think.
It's in the packet.
Yeah. You can kind of see that loop that goes around the east side. It jigs and jogs, goes here and there. I'm not so worried about the head loss piece on that. It's just, you got more fittings, more places that can leak, and just a tougher installation in general, so.
If I could address just one issue, what we're hoping tonight, the big issue is that we had a cost overrun on the project. We wanted to make sure council understood it. Number 2, we're gonna be talking about this project when we get to the budget deliberations as well, so you're not caught off guard with it as well. So, and the third item is we're looking at actually seeking authorization on the project on April 7th with it. And what our thoughts are is between Wilf and the staff, Brad, and working with the airport committee and the users out there, they'll come up with the preferred route on what they at least want to. And from our standpoint, it's mainly a financial issue at that point in time. So I think the 2 cost estimates that Brad had out there was shy of 900,000, over 900,000. We're using a ballpark of 900,000. We'll hopefully continue our winning streak on these bids as well. So
So you're just looking tonight, like, yep, keep moving down the
Yeah.
road to a,
You know, what we don't want to get to is come up on April 7th, where we had an original cost estimate of 400,000, now we're telling you it's 900,000, everyone's caught off guard on it, so.
All good.
well, let's just continue the one time that I'm gonna be the mayor and have all the change orders the same night.
Well, we aren't the change order part yet on this one, right? So-
Okay,
Yeah.
I think you know what to do, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Okay,
very good, thank you.
thanks, Brad.
I'm gonna actually mix things up. I hate to do this on your, like, filling in for the mayor, but Heidi, if we can go to the last slide, please. There you go. As far as our project updates, one of the items that we'd like to do, because this is gonna be an item of discussion during our budget deliberations, which are scheduled for March 30th and March 31st, right here at 6 p.m. on those. We're gonna be talking about the water utility and future supply issues that we need to address, we feel we need to address. And we have Mr. Bob Beanstra here this evening. Bob's been the lead engineer on a potential third deep well or a Jordan well for the community. And I'd like to have him just give a high-level overview of the proposed project, Bob, and also the need for the third well for the community.
Think a little bit about what our water supply and treatment is. We currently have 2 Jordan wells. One is about 40 years old, located over by the water plant. The other is, the one was built as a part of the water plant. We also have reverse osmosis treatment at the water plant. Now, one of the things about reverse osmosis, it's really kind of touchy to the water supply, and so they're kind of married together. When the water plant was changed over to reverse osmosis, there was a concern about the reliability of just having the 2 wells, because if one of the wells goes down, it can be down for quite a long period of time. And having only 1 well is always a risk. One thing about Jordan wells is they have a tendency, once they break, they take a long time to get fixed. So included in kind of the concept for the RO plant was to maintain and reserve the old lime softening plant and the collector well down by the river. That's sort of our backup. Well, the reality is that we haven't used those for several years. They're kind of going to be like the car that sits out in the back 40 for 10 years and you go think it's going to turn over and work. It doesn't. And so we're to the point now where even to put that back in service, if you could, would probably be several months. And so it's really now to the point where we need to look at the reality is that we don't have that third water supply, because the practical side is we're not going to put the collector well and the lime softening plant back in service. It just would take way too long. So the thought is that to get a third Jordan well, which means we would have that, we would replace that whole permit concept of the lime softening plant and the collector well down at the river. And that would give us all the same water supply. It gives the staff a lot more flexibility, how to operate the plant and how to operate the wells. And so the thought is that we need to keep those wells a mile apart, a minimum of a mile apart. And well number 1, the one that's closer to the water plant, has been a really good, reliable well. Well number 2, the one that's located down farther to the south, the water is fine. What it has is a tendency, and this just occurs sometimes in the Jordan aquifer, that if you turn the well off, it gets a little particulate matter and the water gets kind of dirty and you have to clean it up before you use it. So it's not the kind of well that you can flip on and off the same way you can flip well number 1 on and off. So the thought is we want to move kind of in the direction where we know that we've got likely a cleaner well, because the wells that are kind of off to the west as you get closer to Des Moines are all pretty clean water. They don't have that issue that we have at well 2. So the thought is the well number 3 would be located over on the airport property, somewhere, if you look at the Fifield Road corridor on the west side of the runway. And there would be a raw water main that would come back along and more than likely will follow pretty much the same corridor that's picked out for the 8-inch loop. And then that water main would go back to Idaho and then back to the water plant. So the thought behind it is to really get to the point where we have 3 reliable water supplies and we're no longer have to address this issue of what happens if we need to put the lime softening plant and the old collector well back in service. I mean, it made sense at the time because that way you didn't have to incur the costs right away for a third well. Now we're far enough down the road that it probably needs to make sense to look at that. So the thought is that we would probably use the state revolving fund loan program. We've already got approval for the planning and the design component of it. So we're ready to move forward with it. As was mentioned, that we'll start that tentatively on April 7th. The idea that the well will take a while. I mean, there's only a couple of well drillers that do this well. The well's about a half a mile deep. So you have to rely about a couple of years, up to 18 months to 2 years, just to find a contractor to get it in their schedule to do it. So the thought is that the goal would be, if we get all the planning and design work done, to try to bid the project late this year. The reality is probably going to be sometime in 2028 when it gets in service, just because these things kind of, with only 1 or 2 contractors in the Midwest, you're kind of at their mercy. And it isn't the kind of thing you're going to have some, local well driller decide, I'm going to drill a half a mile through rock. It's a pretty specialized component. So that's kind of the thought. It's really more related to be able to phase out that permit requirement. We already have the well permitted, so we've gone through that process. The thought is that the airport, city-owned property, it meets the mile corridor. It's a good piggyback with a water main to come back along, piggybacking the 8-inch water main. Puts the kind of the wells, so we'd have at the plant, northwest of the plant, and then southwest of the plant, so kind of space those out. So that's the thought. More than likely, long-term, we'll probably, with the 3 wells, we'll probably rely somewhat more heavily on what would be 1 and 3, which gives the ability to alternate the wells a little bit better. So it improves what the guys at the water plant can do operationally. We'll keep well number 2. We'll clean it, we'll use it periodically, but it probably will drop back and not be the lead well. Right now, it's the lead well, runs 24/7, and we'd like to be able to get back to where we have a little bit more flexibility. And this, in addition to getting rid of that permit problem, gives the operating staff a lot more options on how to run the plant. So that's kind of the background. Be glad to answer any questions. I think the thought is, as was mentioned, that probably try to start this process with the study phase of it that's required by the DNR in April, with the idea then that we would try to get the project wrapped up and out to bid toward the end of this year.
Is there much involved in decommissioning that old well and softening plant?
There isn't really any need to do it right now. The lime softening plant is just sitting there. At some point, if we need to, there may be some other modifications down the road, but as far as decommissioning, Councilman Bannister, it can just sit there for right now. No use spending the money on it. Part of, it's there, just space. If we need it in the future, we can reclaim it. If not, it'll just be there. And the same way with the well. At some point, we may need to do something with the well, but at this point, that's not a priority.
I think it's high time we do this. This has been something that has given me a great deal of anxiety, because this is what we're called to do as elected officials, is to keep the lights on and the water running. And as a person that was on council the evening that one of the wells went down, and our city staff had to change and clean the filters around the clock, and we had to send a runner to Wisconsin, I believe it was, to get the filter. That should have been our indicator at the time. And so I think it's high time that we move forward with this project so that we can be true to what we're called to do, and that's keep the water running.
Absolutely, we have to keep pushing it because the demand for water is not going to go down.
Okay. Mike, you hear the council? Yep. All right, sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, Heidi, if we can go back to the compensation study, what we're here to talk to this evening about is we're requesting permission to actually start and initiate a compensation review of the city's workforce as well. And on this item, we have a couple points for consideration as we consider this item. We actually had the compensation study budgeted for this year. We're planning to include it in next year's budget as well. The council will consider it once again on the 30th and 31st of this month. But as we consider a compensation review, it's important to note that most industry standards state that you should review your compensation system every 3 to 4 years. Now, depending on the review, depends on the perceived need of that as well. And that could just be a simple review to make sure you're within market. It could be everything up to including hiring a consultant to make changes to the system as well. The second point I'd like to consider is on the 30th and 31st, we're going to be talking a lot about property taxes and property tax reform or potential of property tax reform in the state of Iowa. And the big takeaway is the state legislature is in control. They set the rules for this as well. And there may be significant changes to property taxes in the future that we're going to have to deal with. Now, if they do come about with it, it's important to note that we may have to ultimately adopt a compensation system that's more of a merit-based system than the one that currently exists as well. And if you're going to change your compensation system, it's wise to have a consultant review it and make those recommendations as well. The last item we'd like to make council aware of, and we're going to be talking about this in kind of part 2 this evening, is we have experienced difficulties recruiting for some utility positions as well. So these are all important factors to consider on why you want to hire a consultant to look at your compensation system. And so these factors are weighing heavily on our recommendation to proceed with hiring a consultant this evening. So let's go ahead, Heidi, and go to the next slide. Now, Mandy's done quite a bit of research on this, and I'm going to turn this portion over to Mandy and explain to council our recommendation and a little bit about this firm as well.
Sure, thanks, Mike. The Austin Peters Group recently conducted Marion County study. In addition to that, they also have conducted several Midwest labor market municipalities. So very important to have a group that is familiar with the Midwest. The last 2 studies that we did, we used a group that maybe didn't have as much experience with this area. So we felt it very important to recommend someone who not only has several experience examples, but someone who recently conducted a study too. I was fortunate to be a part of providing information for the Marion County study, so got to know the person who was leading that and really got connected that way. I spent some time with Keisha Johnner. She was a head person of their study, and she highly recommends the Austin Peters Group too. The fees, the overview there, we are recommending more than just a classification and compensation system review. That is the bulk of the fees. But Mike and I, as we have talked about it, we feel it's important to include the other aspects to it, especially the performance evaluation system. Our system, we have not rehauled probably in over 20 years. What'd you say, Mike? It's been a long time, probably. And if we do lean to going towards that merit-based system, having a new evaluation system to go hand in hand with that would be really important. Not only would they talk with our department heads very substantially through this process, they would provide training to all of the supervisors on how to handle those performance evaluations, which is a really good thing to have a refresher on too. I think that's all that I have on this one, unless you have more to add, Mike.
No, I think that's a good summary. So with that, as Mandy stated, and when she talked about the new compensation system, the performance-based system, is we may need to adopt more of a merit-based system, and this is just due to potential there may be a significant reduction in property taxes in the future, and if so, we may not be able to afford, well, not necessarily, we may be forced to change our system on it. And so if we do change the system, it's important that the evaluation system is tied to it, and that's the reason why we've included that as well. So before we go on to item number 2, we'd like to receive direction as far as proceeding with the consultant to review the city's compensation system.
I think it's a great idea. I do.
My guess is merit-based in government's a little more tricky than merit-based in how many roofs you sell or how many loans you make. I would think that would be those metrics would be very difficult to define and might be more fuzzy than what other industries may have. I don't know that, but I would suspect that.
Yes, and that is the importance of adding that new evaluation system. You are spot on. It can be very difficult. And then you have different leaders who may do it differently. So having that standardized training would be a very important part of it. The system that they would put into place would really guide us in taking some of that gray area out. I've had great conversations with the person who would be conducting it to feel confident that they would be able to minimize that as much as possible.
Did Marion County by any chance move to more merit-based then too, or wasn't that part of their metrics?
They actually ended up going more towards what we have right now.
Okay.
So it's been interesting because the Austin Peters group, they see it both ways, and they really, before they make a recommendation to us, they will sit down with department heads, Mike, myself, kind of get an idea of what exactly is working right now with our system before they make a recommendation of which way to go.
Sounds like we're in favor of moving forward.
Yep.
Okay. All right, the last item that we have, let's go ahead, please, Heidi, to the last slide. We'd like to talk about potentially adopting a program that was actually recommended in the last compensation study. And normally with these types of recommendations, it's important to keep in mind they are department driven. And in this particular case, what we had in the last recommendation, this applied for water and wastewater operators. So these are individuals that would run the water plant, are capable of running the water plant, as well as our water plant as well. They recommended awarding a step increase for every license that those operators had. And this is more of just placing them in the scale, making sure we're able to retain the individuals that we have as well. And then also to recruit individuals that may have licenses that would be able to operate our plants. Wilf will tell us here in a little bit just on how long it takes to become a licensed in the water and wastewater industry. But what we'd like to do, and this is on a recommendation of our Public Works Director on this, and also our HR department, is proceed with the program. We think if we were to follow the Condrey recommendation and award a step for every license that our operators have, we think the estimated impact is right around $25,000. But we also feel it's necessary to be able to retain those operators and also recruit people interested in learning how to operate water treatment plants and wastewater facilities as well. So first, I'd like to turn it over to Mandy to share some details on this, and then I'd like to have Wilf's input as well.
Not been something that has entered into in a short period of time. We have been trying to fill this role over the last year, and we've gone through 4 recruitment cycles and have not gotten anyone that's licensed, with the exception of 1. And it could be more than a salary issue. We always take that into consideration. But when we go through cycles multiple times and we're seeing the same things, that's when we need to dig in deeper and figure out what's going on. With this one, I did just a very minimal market analysis using nearby municipalities, and I do feel there is a gap that I feel like this is a great solution to do now to take care of the issue, but then in connection, the compensation study will help us really realize where we need to be. So I definitely feel strongly, along with Wilf, that this is the right path to go. These individuals, as we heard from Mr. Bob Veenstra, they have very important roles in the utilities and in these divisions, and they work really hard to get their certifications. Well, do you want to cover more on that?
Sure. I think part of the issue here is we've almost been hurt by our own success. One of the things I noticed coming into Public Works is how many of the people have been there for most of their careers. And that's a huge testament to the city of Pella. But unfortunately, it means we don't have very much experience with recruiting new people. And as we discovered when we started that process, it was rather difficult for us. And I think there are a number of issues there. The certification in both water and wastewater is very critical. You have to be on the water side, for example, at least a level 2 to be able to run the plant, which means we have people on call 24/7, 365. Those folk have to be a minimum of a level 2 certification. Well, if you come in without a certificate, even if you have a college degree, it can take up to 6 months to get your level 1. And with that, you may be allowed, under certain circumstances, by DNR, under supervision, to take control, but you can't do the whole thing. What that means is when we lose, as we did more than a year ago now, one of our qualified people, we are now in a situation where we basically have 2 people trying to cover every single hour of the plant's operation, and that's not sustainable long term. So we have a problem there we have to fix. It's not just us either. Public works recruitment and retention is a nationwide issue. I was on a call earlier today where we were talking about exactly this, how difficult it is to recruit and retain people in public works. And part of that, to be honest, is if you're in public works, it's because you have a servant leader type of mentality, and those aren't, well, we probably haven't done as good a job of seeking those out as we might have done. So we need to change some of the things we do as well. But it's very clear the certification is critically important. It does go up to level 4. It does take a significant amount of time. We encourage actually all of our workers to seek appropriate certification. They do it initially on their own dime, but once they pass a certificate, we reimburse them for the materials that they had to buy and the fee for the test. So we want the best educated workforce we can have, particularly when they're providing us with water and making sure our wastewater gets treated in the right way. So I think this is a good way to fill the gap while we work on getting the compensation study up and fully running. So happy to try and address any questions you might have.
So in this industry or this part, are people fairly mobile to move to other communities for higher pay? Are we seeing that like the person you said we lost, was it a retirement or was it a move for a better opportunity?
Yep, the person that we lost at the water treatment plant actually was promoted to the collections distribution staff. So he did stay as part. I don't feel like it's uncommon in the industry to have people move around. We have not seen a lot of that.
No, but again, we've not been trying to lure them away. There are other cities, and you can mention, for example, West Des Moines have been very aggressive in recruiting from other locations in all aspects of public works, and have, it's somewhat of a seller's market, I guess you would say at the moment. There is mobility there. We are, again, I would stress how fortunate Pella has been and how Pella is clearly doing something right to have so many people working for the city for so long. That is not necessarily unusual in public works, but it's something we should be very proud of. Unfortunately, what that means is we have a graying workforce. So we better get this fixed because it's not going to be the last time this happens.
And I will add to that too. Wilf and I sat down with all of Public Works on Friday. We wanted to make sure that they heard this from us, not from KNIA, as often happens. And I think we had a couple of comments of people that said every week they get a mailing or email trying to lure them away. So that is very loud for them as well.
Yeah.
So I think it would be
Yeah.
safe to say that we want to move forward with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay,
I think that's it.
That's
this
it?
evening.
all right, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Fourth. All in favor, say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Banstra,
Yes.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Vanderhorst. Yes. Butler.
Yeah.
We are adjourned. Hey, thanks.